Good day, and welcome to episode 27 of the Aaron Wayne podcast. Here we go, guys. So in this one, we talk about a backpacking trip that we just did last weekend, talk about a preview of what we're going to be doing this summer for the podcast, a couple of ideas about vlogging. If you're into vlogging, I tried it, failed at it, and this is what I learned from it. So let's do it. What's up, guys? Changed the setup if you're watching this on YouTube, which nobody's watching this on YouTube, so I don't even know why I'm saying that, but I changed the setup. I'm still in my yoga room, my little podcast studio space. Let me turn this mic. It sounds better like this. Yeah, got Layla over my corner right here. That dog is 11 years old, and she backpacked 12 miles this weekend. Went on a little backpacking trip with some homies. A friend of mine and his fiance that I met through yoga, and an old friend of mine and his girlfriend went through the woods, man. Spent the weekend hiking through the woods, which was a blast. I feel like I need to do that every now and again. I just need to spend some time in the woods. I gotta feel what it's like to not be dialed in on tasks and to-dos and get a bit more granular on just making sure that I have clean drinking water, which was a bit sketch. I have these really cool water bags that filter water. You fill if you have a CamelBak at home, it's basically two CamelBak bags with a charcoal filter in between them, and you fill one bag with dirty water. And trust me when I say the water was dirty. It was brown dirty. We filtered it through the thing, and it came through the other side of the filter, and it was less dirty. But we still drank it. So today's Monday. I was drinking that water Saturday night and Sunday morning. And I think it takes 3 or 4 days for Cryptosporidium and Giardia, which are the most common creek pathogens that you get if you just drink stream water. I think it takes about 3 days. So tune in on, this podcast is going to post way after this, so maybe I'll tell you about it. I'm actually getting on the ball when it comes to recording these podcasts in a consistent manner. So today is the Monday before the last day of school. Tomorrow is the last day of school, which is exciting and interesting and sort of strange to say goodbye to my kids, especially because I haven't seen them as much, but I've just in the last 2 months, really started to get to see their personalities a bit more. And then saying goodbye to remote kids was really strange because most of the time I don't even see their faces. They just have their little icon up that says, "Oh, this is my name and this is an MCPS logo." I just burped into the microphone. I'm sorry. But the saying goodbye to the remote kids was a bit strange. I was like, "Hey, turn your cameras on. Let me say goodbye to you." And I always try to end the school year with a genuine goodbye, some emotions that I'm actually feeling. And I was able to do that today, but with the remote kids, it was just a bit wonky. There's a huge disconnect. We all have noticed that there's this disconnect when we're, living our lives through Google Meet and Zooms. So tomorrow's last day of school. I don't know why I brought that up. I brought it up for a reason. And there was another tangent, another string that I was pulling on, and I don't remember what it was. But yeah, man. So, I was talking about podcasting regularly. So this podcast is going to come out after I get a notification on my phone. That's distracting. After I get back from Savannah. And when I say back from Savannah, what I mean is leaving Savannah, Georgia to see some homies that I care about and get to see usually once or twice a year. They live down in Savannah, and one of my friends she's expecting, and that's awesome. So we're going to go hang out and talk about mom stuff and check out Savannah. This podcast will come out the week after that. And by that point, Katie and I, my wife, we'll be on the road, man. We're going super far. I actually just did the mileage. Let's see if I can pull this up real quick while I'm still talking. This is called vamping. And what vamping is you talk while you are trying to do something so you don't have dead airspace. So I'm just going to vamp for a second, and I'm going to pull up my travel sheet, and I'm going to pull up the budget for 2020 summer road trip. We are going to go an estimated 8,500 miles this summer, which is awesome. Hopefully gas doesn't get above $3 a gallon because that's what my budget is. But it's probably going to. Especially if there's another pipeline thing. You guys hear about that in the news in the Southeast? There's a pipeline that got hacked that keeps track of and moves all of the oil to the whole Southeast. It's such a like, this is a glaring fail point. The fact that just, do a little bit of hacking and people can dismantle the access to petroleum in the Southeast turned out to be a whole bunch of, chaos for nothing. It ended up being fine. But yeah, so we're doing crazy miles. This podcast is going to post the week we're on the road. In fact, I might even post it I might even post it a bit early. What accent do you think that is? I don't know what it is. I'm going to post it a little bit early. And I think what I'm going to do, I had this conversation with Katie and she's down for it, which is I would like to do podcasts from the road with her at least once a week. And if you're following along on YouTube, which most of you aren't, which is fine because I'm just making the videos because I like to make the videos. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to record some stuff and cut it into the intro and then dive into the podcast between me and her. And is that the correct form of the objective pronoun? Me and her. Yeah, nailed it. Good job, English teacher. So a podcast with me and her, kind of reviewing the week, talking about the week, and just kind of chatting. It's always really interesting to be on the road with Katie because we are mostly by ourselves, and so we kind of get deep in our conversations. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to sharing some of those insights with you guys. And for if you've just been tuning in on the podcast the last 3, 4, 5, 10 episodes, Katie's awesome. I'm gonna introduce you guys to her, and she has been on the podcast once before. I think in the first like 5 or 6, because I was like, hey, let me figure out if I can use 2 mics. Which actually, using 2 microphones, I need to make notes on how to do that in GarageBand, because I did this interview in last week's podcast, which posts on Memorial Day, or posted, because I'm talking in the future. That's not a confusing thing about podcasting, because I'm recording this on Monday, May 24th, and it's not going to come out till the first weekend of June. So I got to keep track of these things in my head. But I showed up to this podcast interview where I was interviewing a yoga studio owner that I teach yoga teacher trainings with. So see last episode, I think it's episode 26. And I had forgotten how to do, and it's not super straightforward. It's not just plug in 2 microphones and hit the record button. There's, you got to get into the settings and configure things. So that was slightly nerve-wracking. It's like being at a test and you have 5 minutes and you have 20 questions left and just how do I do all this before the timeline? But yeah, man, I'm super stoked to hit the road and to share that experience with you guys. I'm going to have a sip of coffee. Just bear with me. Again, not sponsored by Panera Bread. But last summer, I like building things, as I've told you guys before. I like creating things. I like sharing. I like spreading good vibes in the internet, because the internet can be a dark place at times. And last summer and the summer before, frankly, have just had this idea. I want to vlog. I want to make a vlog. I want to record these memories so that I have them and I can look back on them and reminisce. And Layla, for example, if you can see the video, she's over my shoulder and she is an old doggo. She's gonna be with us for another year or 2, maybe 3, but probably not 3. So what I'm saying is and also Katie and I are gonna start having kids soon, and we'll buy a house and live that life and do that thing. And how many more times are we gonna be able to travel 1,800 miles in our van without any encumbrances? So I want to be able to record these things and keep these as a log for myself and for my wife and for my kids to look back on and listen to and hear and see. And then also just spreading good vibes out into the world, I think is a good thing. So I'm into it, and that's why I'm doing it. But vlogging, man, if you have ever tried, a handful of you listening have probably thought these vloggers look like they're having fun. Let me do this. Vlogging is not fun, man. It is way more challenging than these casual millennials and TikTokers make it look like. And maybe that's why TikTok has become so famous, because it's so easy to just choo, and it's sort of, you can edit it in the app and it's very straightforward. But to do any vlogging on YouTube, it takes 2 big things. I'll tell you what I learned about how to make a vlog. Maybe that's the takeaway from this podcast episode for you if you're interested in this. I'll tell you what I learned from trying to do it. and why I don't want to do these things, because I think you need a couple of things in order to have a vlog that's actually like cogent and makes sense and is worth watching again for yourself, or worth sharing with someone you care about to share memories with, or to just like broadcast out to the world to spread good vibes. The first thing you need to do is have a narrative. You need to have an actual plot to it. And that was the biggest piece that I missed when I was trying to vlog, because I thought, oh, I bought this camera. Let me use this camera to record my experiences. And then I would sit down to edit. And for a while, I was using this software called DaVinci Resolve, like Leonardo da Vinci. It's called DaVinci Resolve. And they have a really, really good free version that I was using for a long time. And then I switched over to Adobe, the whole Adobe suite, because I just think that's it's just easier, and a bit more straightforward, and it's more of the industry standard. So I use Premiere for editing now when it comes to videos, but at the time I was using this free software, DaVinci. So, Google it, download it, find it. You're not going to find it in the App Store. You got to go to their website. And I would sit down with gigs and gigs and gigs of completely incoherent footage, and there was no story to tell. And I don't know if it's on this YouTube page. I don't think it is. Maybe it is on this YouTube page that I post my podcast on. You can look back and see those vlog attempts, and there's no real story with them. And so after having a couple of failed shots, I think I still made them and posted them somewhere. After having a couple failed attempts at making vlogs, I realized there's no story. I have to intentionally create like a narration, which, the English teacher in me is going to teach you that narration is the story being told by someone other than the characters. The characters use dialogue. The narrator doesn't use dialogue. But someone has to tell the story. It can't just be visual. And maybe there are vloggers out there that can do that, but it just wasn't a skill set that I had. And so then I found myself in public spaces talking to the camera in a really explicit way. And I'm not shy. I'm very extroverted. So that didn't really bother me too much in regards to like public awareness that I'm vlogging, because we're doing it in cool places. It's not like I'm going to, the farmer's market in my hometown, though I think I did try to vlog in the farmer's market in my hometown in Blacksburg. But, you go to Arches National Park, you're going to see a couple people that might be doing something vlog-like, right? Or at least talking to their phone for Instagram. And so that didn't make me feel uncomfortable. What I did not enjoy about speaking directly to the camera and creating narration is that I had to pause my life in order to narrate for an audience. And I didn't like that because it broke me out of the moment. It made things feel very calculated, right? So the number one tip that I would say is, if you have any desire to do any vlogging, is to have a narrative. The second thing is to feel really comfortable speaking to a camera, because that's what's required. You have to be able to just speak to a camera. Like right now, if you're watching me on YouTube, there's a camera right here, and behind you is a wall. That's all it is. It's just a wall that holds my guitars that I never play, and are probably out of tune because I play them so infrequently. In a vlogging space, you would have to be very comfortable just holding a tripod right in front of you and staring down the barrel of the camera, and there's other people on the other side of the camera looking at you, curious about what you're doing, and like maybe even talking trash, you know what I mean? Or like kind of snarkily looking at you. So you got to be comfortable being in front of the camera. And then the third thing is, I don't have a third thing, because I really just didn't want to break the narrative. I didn't want to break my life to create a narrative. And so that was my attempt at trying to teach you how to vlog by someone who's a failed vlogger. Oh, man. So my approach now with what I want to do this summer, like the project of this summer, is to continue with the podcast, because the podcast is just growing and growing and growing. It's like, it's not a big podcast at all. It's like still very micro, but picking up a few listeners here, a few more streams here. So it's like, looking at the data, it is continuing to grow, which is really cool. And I just want to keep making good things. I just want to keep spreading good vibes and sharing that idea. And so my project for this summer, now that the podcast has legs and I can just sustain it, is to integrate the idea of capturing video footage of my road trip that my wife and I are going to do this summer, and then integrating that with a podcast. I think that's kind of an interesting idea of having like 3 minutes of cut up material, not necessarily with me addressing the camera, but just sort of maybe talking to the camera. Maybe I do some voiceover stuff. I don't know. I got to play with it, right? I got to build it and see what it is that works. But that's the idea, is a combination of images and audio. And if you're an audio only listener, which is 99%, I mean, it is astonishing how many videos I've posted on YouTube and how many people watch them. It is, it's kind of disheartening if I just look at those numbers, but then I look at the other stuff and it's like, oh, people are growing, like the people are sharing it, they're talking about it, they're not talking about it, but like people are rating and reviewing and things like that. And then here's the idea. As I hear myself saying these things, I think back to why I started the podcast. The reason I started the podcast is because I have an extroverted nature, which leads me to want to talk all of the time. And one of the things I've noticed, in fact, I was talking to some friends, I was talking to my friend Charlotte during our backpacking trip this weekend. I was telling her, one of the reasons I started the podcast was I find myself in conversation all the time, and people aren't necessarily interested in having the conversation that I'm looking to have. And that's okay. It's not my responsibility to dictate what people talk about in interpersonal relationships. And sometimes people do want to talk about these things that I'm interested in, or they don't want to talk about it. And the thing I notice is that people have a tendency to stop listening and get distracted, or not actually listen. And so the podcast, when I started it, was the intention of it was, here's a forum where I can speak freely, and I don't have any obligation to feel that I'm, controlling the conversation, which I have a tendency to do because I'm sort of an egomaniac and like capturing everything and like, listen to what I have to say. And so what I've noticed in my life after having this other thing that I do, what I've noticed is that I feel less of a need to control conversations because I have this conversation with you, the listener, and with myself, more importantly. I'm grateful that people are digging what I'm doing and I'm getting feedback about it, but honestly, I'm doing this for myself. I'm doing this so that I can feel what it is that I can feel like that I have the opportunity to speak. And then more importantly, I'm the type of person, and maybe you are too, maybe you're not, I'm the type of person who understands what it is that I think through dialogue. And that dialogue can be with myself, but I have to articulate my thoughts through speech in order to really understand what it is that's inside my head, because journaling is too slow and typing is even too slow for the way my brain works. And I'm not saying like I'm some sort of savant with my brain is too fast for my fingers. What I mean is I can't jump tangentially between topics and then come back to it when you're writing. And the benefit of writing is it's very linear. Like, it has to be organized and make sense. And that's one of the things I teach to my students. But in a podcast format, I can just talk. I can just do it. And I can come back and go into this tangent, go into that tangent. My wife just got home. Hold on. Hey, you want to say hi to the podcast?
Hi, podcast.
You want to say hi?
We're supposed to be bike riding podcast.
We're supposed to be bike riding.
Time to sign off.
I got to sign off the podcast. Katie, I told them that you're going to be on the podcast
That's rude.
after this one.
Okay.
You don't want to wave on the camera? Nobody watches this on YouTube anyway.
Well, I scratched my leg. I didn't know I'm on the camera.
You're on, yeah. But luckily, I have 10 subscribers on YouTube.
10 subscribers.
Hi to the subscribers. Okay. I'll try to edit out the fact that my dogs bark like banshees, but let's wrap this bad boy. It's a short one today. That's fine. We're getting it out. We're getting it done. I hope you guys are doing well. And tune in next week for Tales from the Road. That's not what I'm going to call it. It's super cheesy. I used to have this hashtag that I would use called AK Circus, Aaron and Katie Circus. I don't even know what it means. I can see her over my corner of my shoulder in the screen. She's telling me to tell you guys bye. Okay. All right, guys. I guess I gotta say goodbye. I still want to talk, but I gotta go. We're bike riding in Savannah with some friends this weekend, and Katie told me, Aaron, I don't really know how to ride a bike. And she knows how to ride a bike, but she has to remember how to do it every time she does it because she didn't grow up riding a bike. So we're going to go do a little test run in the parking lot of my middle school. Hopefully nobody's there because she might fall a couple times. You got a helmet? Do you have a helmet? All right. See you on the next one, guys. That was fun. I'll see you next week, guys. Hope you're doing well. Follow along, subscribe, rate, comment, all those good things. Next week's podcast is going to be from the road. I'm not sure where we're going to be, but I will see you on the next one. Boom. There it is. If you're still watching, make sure you hit like and subscribe. It's the easiest way that you can contribute. It costs you nothing, and it helps me out a lot with the algorithm. So if you were into this, let me know. And see you on the next clip, guys. For full episodes, you can get them on Spotify and iTunes, as well as subscribe to the YouTube channel. I post them on Sundays and Wednesdays every week. All right, guys. Peace.
Yeah.